How's it going, everybody? It's Chris Bergstrom from BushidoPhoto.com, and today we're here in the forest of Tokyo. So we're gonna go do some strobist type stuff up on top of this hill and show you what equipment we brought up here. And I'll be shooting with the Fujifilm X Pro 2. Let's check it out. All right, so why did I bring you all the way out here into the mountains of Tokyo? Well, today I'm going to show you how high-speed sync works, especially with any camera, but with the Fujifilm X Pro 2, also works on the X-T2, XH1, and what basically I'm going to show you is how you lose a stop of light for every stop that you increase your shutter speed into high-speed sync. So let's check out what I brought up here in the mountains with us. So of course I got the X Pro 2. I got this Kata bag. I've had this thing for a long time. Got my drone landing pad. I got the DJI Crystal Sky with this cool new hood. So this thing opens up like this. You really don't need it with the Crystal Sky, but sometimes there are reflections that I'm trying to avoid. So that works really good. Of course, I brought the AD600. This is what we're going to use to basically overpower the sun. Even though we're in the shade right now, it's going to be pretty awesome. And of course I brought the 56 f1.2, and I also brought a Made of Bones speed booster with an old Russian lens. It's a Helios lens. So anyway, we'll check out how the bokeh looks with this lens a little bit later, because we'll shoot some B-roll with it, and we may even take some portraits with it. So let's get started. right, so we're out here with the 50-inch Westcott Apollo softbox with a Godox 8600 in it. I'm triggering everything with the Godox X1T. I do have the X Pro trigger, but it's been hit or miss with the high-speed sync, so I'm going back to the old tried and true method of the X1TF for Fujifilm trigger until Godox comes out with a firmware update for the X Pro trigger. I'm shooting everything on the X Pro 2, which is kind of funny. And also we have the XT2 filming the video here. My wireless mic is the Aputure A.Lav. And so what I'm going to show you is how we're going to start at our sync speed, which our max sync speed is 1/250th of a second. Then we're going to increase the shutter speed by 1 stop, going to 500th of a second, then 1/1000th of a second, 1/2000th of a second, 1/4000th, and then finally ending at 1/8000th of a second. And I'm going to show you how when we start with our sync speed at full power, how we're at probably an aperture of f/16. I'm just guessing right now. And then by the time we increase our shutter speed, we're going to get up to 1/8000th of a second, which is 5 stops of light lost. Because every time you increase your shutter speed beyond high speed sync by 1 stop, you're losing a stop of light on your strobe. So 600 watt second strobe, if you were getting f5.6 at 1/250th of a second, when you go to 1/500th of a second, now you're into your sync speed, into high speed sync, then your aperture will need to drop down to f4 to be able to expose the exact same exposure. So let's see what we come up with. All right, so since I did not bring a light meter with me, I don't know what my exposure is going to be, so I'm just going to have to take a test shot. Like I said, we're roughly about 8 feet away, maybe 7 feet away from the subject with the light, and I'm just going to take a test shot and see how it looks. All right, I'm going to start at f8 because I have no idea. All right, so f8 is actually a good exposure. On my Fujifilm cameras, I always have this down button set to preview exposure, white balance, in manual mode, either on or off, depending on what I'm looking for. So if I'm in a studio environment and I want to be able to see the model, of course I don't want it like this, you know, I'm at 1/1000th of a second. I can't see anything. So if I turn that off, now I can see my subject, but I could get a completely black background if that's what I'm looking for. So I do use that a lot. When I'm on location, I'll usually use it with it on, because then I can see what do I want the background exposure to be. Something around there. Let's see, 1/100th of a second. All right, let's take a couple shots. Look off in the distance, Leilani, like at the top of this light. Turn your body. There you go. All right, so the exposure is a little hot right now, so I could probably turn down the power. Let's go to 1/4 and a 1/7. Stop. And like, can you pose, like put your hand on your hip or somewhere? There we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, so exposure is looking better. I'm gonna drop down my shutter speed, 60th of a second. 3, 2, 1. And I am shooting at f8 right now, which is not what I want. So I want to actually be able to shoot at f1.4, and high speed sync should allow me to do that. So let's go drop our shutter speed down. Now I'm at 1/500th of a second. So one of the things I'm trying not to do is make a tree grow out of her head, which would be bad. Now whenever you move your light, you always want to move it kind of like a compass. So I might have moved it back about 1 foot, so I'm going to bring it back in. And it's kind of like a compass that you have with a pencil, and your subject is the center point. So if you move your light around, that way you don't have to readjust your exposure. Just keep it in the same spot. All right, and I usually count down for my models, that way they don't blink. 3, 2, 1. Now looking at the camera. 3, 2, 1. Now put your hands up. Yeah, kind of like cross them over your head, like you're pointing, like that. There you go. And put your chin up just a little bit. 3, 2, 1. Now looking away from the camera, like down over here at the bottom of the light stand. 3, 2, 1. All right, let me see how my exposure looks. All right, so we are way overexposed. Try this again. 3, 2, 1. All right, so I'm actually at a quarter power. I'm dropping down to 16th. 3, 2, 1. All right, that's a good exposure on the ambient. So I'm going from a thousandth of a second down to 1/2000th of a second, just to bring in some drama here. 3, 2, 1 at f1.4. Okay, so I could go up on the power on the strobe. Now I'm at a 16th of a power, 16th power, and now I'm going up by 2/3 of the stop to 1/16th plus 0.7. All right, looking towards the light again. 3, 2, 1. All right, now we have a very natural looking shot. This big strobe is actually pushing a lot of light onto the foliage and the subject. Now looking back towards camera. 3, 2, 1. All right, can you give me a better pose than that? That's just kind of standing still. Can you cross your legs or stand on your tippy toes or something? 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna back up just a little bit more. Three, two, one. Now turn your body facing that way and back up, like back down there, like about 3 steps. No, that way, parallel to the light. Keep going, keep going. Right there, right there. Good. 3, 2, 1. All right. So right now I am at, what's my shutter speed? 2,000th of a second. So if I go from 2,000th up to 4,000th of a second, then I'm going to have to increase my strobe from 1/16th plus a 7 up 3 clicks. So 8th power plus 0.07. 3, 2, 1. And again, we're getting exactly perfect exposure. So now if I go to 1/8000th of a second, I got to increase the power of the strobe by 3 clicks. 3 clicks equals 1 stop because it adjusts in 3rd stop increments.